Okay, if you have take a look at my first video, the introduction video, I did mentions about three important HR elements that people who are managing HR organization in SME must have or should have. Now, for today's session, I'm going to focus on the HR role in SME. And for that matter, let's take a quick check on some facts around the SME. First, the definition of SME. Now, many organizations, many countries define SME differently based on two elements. The first is either they look at the annual revenue, and second one they probably look at the number of full-time employee. If you look at the US definition, this data comes from OECD. Any organization that having 500 headcount or 500 full-time employee or less considered as SME. But in Europe, slightly different. In EU, they are defined as any full-time headcount or any organization that having full-time headcount less than 250. Whereas in Malaysia, we're talking about only 200 headcount. So, in my opinion, and in the upcoming video that we're going to share with you, when we define SME, I would refer to any organizations across the world that having full-time employee less than 200. Yeah. So this to ensure that whatever that you see in, moving forward, then you have the same set of understanding. The next fact is we'll talk about the HR ratio to a full-time employee. Now, if you are in organization, especially in SME, as I defined earlier on, 200 employee and below, or less than 200 employee rather, based on the survey done in 2017 by SHRM, they are talking about 2.6 HR personnel versus their 100 full-time employees. So meaning the ratio is 2.6 to 100. Now, you look at Bloomberg's laws, again done a survey on 2018. They're giving the ratio is much lower, it's 1.5 to 100 employees, full-time employee. So, in my opinion, if you choose the HR ratio in your organizations between 1 to 3, it would not go so far off compared to what other organizations define across the globe. So in this instance, for this video and also upcoming video, HR ratio, ideal HR ratio that I'm going to define here is referring to 2 HR personnel serving 100 full-time employees. Now, based on that two definitions, let's go into the actual subject that I want to talk about today, which is talking about a HR role, a critical HR role, as well as critical HR skill. In general, whether multinational companies or the SME, SMI organization and so on, when talking about HR, probably we're looking at least 4 key pillars, meaning that talent acquisition is one of them, compensation and benefit is one of them, training and development is one of them, and the 4th item is employee relations. Now, each of these HR roles, of course, they have the skill set again. Let's look at it one by one. But I hope you're not surprised, as the SME, you need to know so much thing before you can perform your job. We're going to simplify it, but I'm sharing with you what is commonly and normally people talk about when talking about the HR role and their skill set. Yeah. So let's start with their talent acquisition first. To be a good talent acquisition personnel, of course you need to know how to plan the workforce, right? Then you conduct the job analysis, job description, sourcing, selecting, and also the onboarding process. Yeah. So these are all the skill set at least, yeah, for you to be able to do that functions well. Now let's look at the next function. It's talking about the compensation and benefit. Now under the compensation and benefit, normally you need to create the job structure, and you also need to create the common band structure, or we call it in full compensation and benefit structure, which is looking at the pay range of the different categories. Let's say the manager categories, manager 1, manager 2, what's the pay range, minimum, midway, and then maximums look like. And of course, you also need to be able to manage performance very well. That's one of the portfolios under I define it under the compensation and benefit portion. And also, of course, go without saying, you need to be able to do the payroll and probably the employee claims, time management system, and so on and so forth. And again, the last item, which is very important for common band section, is talking about reward and recognition. So for anybody to perform their job well, of course, they need to be feel that they are important, and they also feel that they are significant in the role that they play. So the reward and recognition is one of the way how to motivate. All right. Let's look at the third item, the HR role. The third item, training and development. All employees that join any organization, of course, they want to grow within the organization. So how to grow is you need to develop them. Either develop the current skill to do a better job in the current role, or develop new skill for their career growth aspirations. So to do that, you need to be able to do or conduct competency analysis, right? After you have done that, then I share with the employee about the career path that they can go to, and drill down to the development, individual development plan, come up with a training plan proper, conduct the training administrations. It's talking about sourcing what kind of training provider best for what kind of courses that you're going to provide for your employee. And of course, beside that, you also need to do the assessment whether those investment that you put in for the training purposes is worthwhile or not. It's talking about the return of investment. And of course, we also need to take a look at their log, the training log, who attend what kind of course, when, and so on and so forth, to see whether their training and development is achieving your desired goal in your organization. And the last HR role is talking about the employee relation. Pretty common that the organization talk about the employee engagement. This is one of the role under the employee relation. You need to understand whether the employee is fully engaged or not. Fully engaged employee is one hell of productive compared to those people who are disengaged or involved rather in their counterproductive work behavior. Right? So then the next thing you need to look at the grievance management. People tend to have some issues that they dislike, they want to share the complaint and so on and so forth. They must know exactly where to go to and complain and to get that resolved. Then sometimes we do face some occasions where employees are not behave the way that we want to be. So some employee may involve in their misconduct. So then you have to manage discipline. So you must be able to have the skill to manage discipline. And employee health and safety. Right now in COVID-19, right, you must have the policy and how to manage that, as well. And of course, communication is part of the employee relations, as well as you need to be able to facilitate teamwork within the organization. Now, if you look at every role that I mentioned just now, from talent acquisition to compensation and benefit, and training and development, as well as the employee relation, each of these items I put up at least 6 skills that you must master as HR practitioner. So that sounds a lot, isn't it? Yeah. So 6 times 4 means talking about 24, right? 6 times 4 means 24 HR skills that you must master. But for SMT, I don't think that you need all that skill. If you have all that skills, well and good. But to do your job well, day-to-day activity, tactical activity, some small part, maybe strategic planning and so on and so forth, probably you don't need that many. So in my next video, I'm going to go through one by one. And I term it as the SME HR model. So we will go through it slightly more detail in terms of what is the skill set that matters most for the SME. Okay. For today's, I think that's what I have to share, and I will see you in my next video.